You know that moment when you open your bank app and do the math in your head before the screen even loads? Like, okay, rent's $1,650, the car note's $420, and I've got $1,842 sitting there, so we're basically tight again. And it's not even a disaster, it is just that constant pressure. How are you supposed to build wealth when it feels like the floor keeps moving? If you're trying to hit your first $100,000, here's what nobody says out loud. The rules shift as soon as you stop being fragile. When you're fragile, one surprise bill can wipe out months. When you're stable, you can finally play offense. So this is the fastest practical path. First, you stop the silent leaks and kill the high-interest gravity. Then you build a real buffer that makes you hard to knock over. And after that, you turn saving and investing into a machine that grows even when motivation's gone. Let's put a number on what fast actually means, because vague advice is useless. If you can invest or save $1,000 a month, you'll stack $12,000 a year. In a little over 8 years, you've put in about $100,000, even without returns. Add a simple 7% average return once you're investing, and that timeline drops closer to 7 years. You can do $1,500 a month, now you're looking at roughly 4.5 to 5.5 years depending on when investing starts. That's the game. It's not secret stocks. It's your monthly surplus, your timeline, and whether your plan can survive a boring Tuesday. And the fastest version isn't the one where you suffer the most. It's the one where your money flows automatically in the right order so you don't have to be good every day. Common mistake that keeps people broke longer than they should be, they treat $100K like it's one giant climb, so they sprint until they burn out. They'll do a hardcore budget for 6 weeks, hate their life, then swing the other way and treat themselves back to zero progress. The move isn't intensity, it's consistency with a smarter order. Here's the first mindset flip that speeds everything up. Your goal isn't to save money. Your goal is to buy stability. Because stability lowers the cost of every future decision. When you've got a buffer, you stop using credit cards as a life raft. You stop panicking. You stop paying rush fees and overdrafts and late charges that are basically a tax on being stretched. So we start with the real villain, high-interest debt. If you've got credit cards at 18%, 24%, even 29% APR, that's not a normal bill. That's a hole that refills itself. Investing while carrying that kind of balance is like trying to walk up an escalator that's moving down. If that's you, the fastest path to $100K includes getting that rate off your back as quickly as possible. And no, that doesn't mean you hoard every dollar in your checking account first. Another common mistake is saving a huge emergency fund while still paying 20% interest. That feels responsible, but it's slow. The better approach is a starter buffer plus aggressive payoff. You keep enough cash so a flat tire doesn't send you back to the car, and you blast the rest at the balance. A starter buffer can be $1,000 if you're in full survival mode, or 1 month of expenses if your income's more steady. If your monthly necessities are $3,000, 1 month is $3,000. That's the line where you stop being one weird week away from chaos. Then your extra money goes where it actually changes your life. And if you're thinking, I don't even have extra money, I get it. But extra money isn't always a paycheck thing at first. It's often a flow thing. People making decent money still feel broke because their money's leaking through subscriptions, impulse convenience, and payments they agreed to when they were stressed. Fixing flow is how you create your first $300 to $800 a month of breathing room. All right, now that you've got the map, we're gonna build your $100K like a stack of layers. And once the layers are in place, you stop pushing a boulder uphill and it starts rolling on its own. The first layer is control, not perfection. Control. If you don't know where your money's going, you're not behind, you're blind. And blind is expensive. Here's something you can do this week. Pull the last 30 days of transactions and circle every recurring charge and every small daily habit that's actually big monthly. Then cancel or downgrade one thing and redirect that exact amount into a separate savings account the same day. If it's $19.99, fine. If it's $129, even better. The point is, you're forcing a new default. Now, while you're doing that, you're also going to pick your minimum win number. This matters because people quit when they don't see progress. If you can only free up $250 a month right now, that's not embarrassing. That's $3,000 a year. That's a starter buffer plus momentum. If you can free up $500, that's $6,000 a year. And if you can get to $1,000, you're officially on the fast-track timeline we talked about. The second layer is your buffer, because your buffer is what stops backsliding. I like thinking in 3 levels. Level 1 is $1,000 for true emergencies. Level 2 is 1 month of expenses. Level 3 is 3 to 6 months, depending on how stable your income is. If you're a W-2 employee with a steady paycheck and low risk of layoffs, 3 months is usually plenty. If you're commission-based, self-employed, or your industry gets shaky, 6 months buys you better sleep and better decisions. Now let's talk about what happens after you've got at least 1 month of expenses saved. This is where the rules start to feel different, because you stop playing defense and you start building a system. Your system has an order, and order is speed. The order looks like this for most people. Get any employer match first, kill high-interest debt, build your buffer to 3 months, then invest consistently. That employer match is a cheat code. If your company matches 4% and you're not taking it, you're skipping a guaranteed return that beats anything legal. If you make $70,000 and a 4% match is available, that's $2,800 a year in free money. Over a few years, that's not nice. That's thousands you can't get back. Once your toxic debt is handled and your buffer is decent, the fastest practical move toward $100,000 is boring investing, broad index funds, automatic contributions. No drama. I'm not saying you can't ever buy a single stock. I'm saying the fastest path for a normal person who has a job and a life is the one that doesn't require you to be right all the time. Here's why. At $0 invested, growth is all you. At $10,000 invested, a 7% year is about $700. It's something, but it won't change your week. At $50,000 invested, 7% is $3,500. Now your money's starting to show up. At $100,000 invested, 7% is $7,000. That's your investments quietly becoming a side hustle that doesn't text you back. So the real mission is getting to the point where compounding can finally help you. And that's why the middle of the journey matters. $10,000 to $50,000. This is where most people get discouraged because it feels slow. It's not slow, it's just not flashy. Let's do a clean example. Say you've got $10,000 saved, no high-interest debt, and you can invest $750 a month. That's $9,000 a year in contributions. In 4 years, you've contributed $36,000. Add modest growth, and you're sitting around the mid to high $40,000 range. That's not a fantasy, that's a calendar. Now the next stretch, $50,000 to $100,000 is where people mess it up, because the moment they see real money, they start upgrading everything at once. New car, bigger apartment, more eating out, more we deserve it spending. And look, you do deserve good things. You just don't deserve a plan that traps you. Lifestyle creep is the quiet thief of the first $100,000. The better approach is to lock in a rule. When income goes up, investing goes up automatically on the same day. You can still upgrade your life, but you upgrade it slower than your income. That gap is your wealth. If you get a $400 a month raise after taxes and you send $200 to investing and keep $200, your life still improves and your timeline accelerates. Do that a few times and suddenly you're investing $1,500 a month without feeling like you're living on rice and regret. Now, a lot of people ask, what's the right savings rate? If you're trying to hit your first $100,000 fast, 20% of take-home is a great target, not a moral rule. A target. If your take-home is $5,000 a month, 20% is $1,000. If you're at 10% right now, that's $500. The gap between 10% and 20% is usually not one giant cut. It's 5 or 6 small wins plus one income. And that brings us to the lever that speeds everything up, income. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Cutting $3 off your groceries doesn't move the needle like earning an extra $10,000 a year. A $10,000 raise might be $600 to $700 more per month after taxes, depending on your situation. If you invest even half of that, you just bought yourself years. So if you want the fastest, practical path, you don't ignore spending, but you stop worshiping it. You keep your spending under control, and you put serious attention on earning power. Here's something you can do this week. Pick one income move and execute a first rep. That could be applying to 5 roles that pay 15% more, booking one networking coffee, asking your manager what it'd take to earn the next title, or posting one offer for a simple service you can deliver on weekends. One rep, not a whole new identity, just a real action that creates a new door. Now let's talk about a mistake that looks smart but slows you down, waiting for the perfect time to invest. If you're always waiting for the market to calm down, you'll miss half the compounding years you'll never get back. The market's weird a lot of the time. That's normal. The move is automatic investing on payday. When you invest every paycheck, you buy more when prices are down and less when prices are up without even thinking about it. That's not hype, that's math. Now, since we're talking about speed, let's build a simple scorecard so you can tell where you're stuck. If you're not consistently saving anything, the issue is cash flow and control. If you're saving, but it keeps getting wiped out by random emergencies, the issue is your buffer and your insurance basics. If you've got a buffer and you're still not moving, the issue is usually lifestyle creep or income. If you're investing but your balance doesn't grow the way you expected, the issue is either contribution size or you're interrupting the process by pulling money back out. That last one matters. Your first $100,000 doesn't happen when you save it. It happens when you keep it. A lot of people hit $20,000, then pull $8,000 for a vacation and a new couch. Then they rebuild, then they pull again. That cycle keeps you stuck in the same chapter for years. I'm not telling you to never enjoy your money. I'm telling you to stop financing joy with your future. Give yourself a fun line item so you don't feel trapped, but keep the big goal protected. If you're investing, you also need to keep your money simple. This is where people get distracted by advanced stuff too early. Options, day trading, crypto moonshots, the whole circus. Could someone get rich that way? Sure, but the fastest practical path for most people is the one with the highest odds, not the best story. Broad diversification, low fees, automatic contributions, and patience. One clean setup that works for a ton of people is a mix of a total US stock index fund and a total international stock index fund, plus bonds later when you're closer to needing the money. If you don't want to think about it at all, a target date fund can do the allocation for you with slightly higher fees but way less decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is expensive by the way it makes you quit. Now, I'm going to give you a simple timeline example so you can see how this stacks. Let's say you start with $0 invested today. If you invest $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. With a 7% average return, you're looking at roughly 11 to 13 years to hit $100,000, depending on market behavior. If you invest $1,000 a month, now it's more like 6 to 8 years. If you invest $1,500 a month, you can realistically be in the 4 to 6 year range. And if you're sitting there thinking, must be nice, look, I'm not pretending everyone can hit $1,500 a month right away. That's why the fastest practical path includes a ramp. You don't need $1,500 today. You need a plan that gets you from $300 to $600, then from $600 to $1,000, then from $1,000 upward as your income grows. That ramp is how normal people win. And yes, sometimes life will punch you in the face. That doesn't mean the plan's broken. Now let's lock in the machine part because this is where speed comes from. The machine is automation plus separation. Separation means your bills money doesn't live in the same place as your wealth money. If everything sits in one checking account, you'll spend what's available even if you're disciplined. That's not a character flaw, that's being human. So you split it. Bills account, buffer savings, investing. Money hits. Bills get paid. Savings and investing move out automatically. What's left is what you can spend without guilt. This is where people are shocked. The best budget is one you don't have to think about every day. Here's something you can do this week. Set up an automatic transfer that happens the day after payday into a dedicated savings or brokerage account, even if it's $100 per paycheck. Then, set it to increase by $25 per paycheck every 2 months until it starts to feel slightly uncomfortable. Slightly, not painful, slightly. That auto increase feature is how you sneak up on a high savings rate without feeling like you're in financial prison. Now, let's talk about debt again, but in a smarter way. Not all debt is equal. A 3% mortgage isn't the same as a 24% credit card. If you've got low-interest student loans or a mortgage, the fastest path to $100,000 might still include investing while you pay those down steadily, because the math can work in your favor over time. But if your debt is high interest, it's eating your future faster than investing can replace it. So you prioritize by interest rate and stress level. If a debt keeps you up at night, paying it off is a return you can feel. Another common mistake here is trying to do everything at once. Max retirement, pay off every loan, build 6 months of cash, invest in a brokerage, and also redo the kitchen. That's how you end up doing nothing well. The better approach is to pick the next domino that makes everything else easier. Usually that's a starter buffer, then high interest payoff, then consistent investing. Now, I want to address the weird emotional thing that happens around $30,000 to $60,000. You start to feel like you've saved a lot and also like it could disappear instantly, and that's true. Markets move, cars break, jobs change. So the win isn't pretending risk doesn't exist. The win is building a setup that can take a hit and keep going. That's why your buffer matters. That's why insurance matters. That's why you don't invest money you'll need next month. You're building a system that doesn't collapse when you're tired. Now, if you want speed, you also need to stop obsessing over tiny percentages and start obsessing over big behaviors. If you're investing in a fund with a 0.03% expense ratio versus 0.10%, that's nice. But it's not the main thing is whether you invest every month for years and whether your contributions rise as your income rises. If your investing jumps from $600 a month to $1,200 a month because you changed jobs, you just did more than 1,000 micro-optimizations ever could. That's why career moves matter so much in the first $100,000 chapter. Switching companies can sometimes get you a 10% to 25% pay jump faster than waiting for annual raises. Negotiating can do the same. Building one high-value skill can do the same. And you don't have to turn into a hustle goblin to do it. You just need one lane you can run in for 6 to 12 months that pays off. Now, quick reality check, because this is where people get weird. The first $100,000 isn't a trophy, it's a tool. Once you hit it, you don't suddenly feel done. You feel capable. You'll notice the stress drops. You'll notice options show up. You'll notice you don't have to say yes to everything. And the best part is, the next $100,000 usually comes faster than the first because you already built the machine. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do I actually focus on tomorrow? Here's the clean answer. Protect your monthly surplus like it's the whole game, because it is. If you can't find surplus, you hunt leaks and you create income. If you've got surplus but it keeps disappearing, you build buffer. If you've got buffer, you automate investing. If investing is happening, you raise contributions as income rises. That's the loop. That loop is your $100,000. Let's make it feel even more real with one more example. Imagine you take home $4,500 a month. You decide you're going to build to investing $900 a month over the next year. Maybe you start at $400 a month. That's $4,800 a year. Then you bump it to $500 after 2 months. Then $600. Then $700. Then $800. Then $900. If you average $650 a month across the year, you invested $7,800. Do that for a few years, and you're not trying. You're just living inside a system that keeps stacking. Now imagine you land a job change, all that adds $800 a month after taxes, and you send $400 of that straight into investing. Now your average is $1,050 a month. At $1,050 a month, you're contributing $12,600 a year. With market growth over time, you're not asking if you'll hit $100,000. You're asking when. That's the